Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new series from the Arizona Burn Foundation called Continuing the Mission. About twice a month, we're going to keep you informed and updated on what the Arizona Burn Foundation is currently doing to continue that mission and how you can help. We have a great panel joining us today. Before we get to those introductions, I do want to mention, if you're not familiar with the Arizona Burn Foundation and their mission is to improve the quality of life for burn survivors and their families in Arizona while promoting burn prevention and fire safety advocacy and education. And joining us today, again, I mentioned a great panel. We have Marissa Fable, she is the programs manager, and we have Lori Lasur-Janik, she is the director of client care services. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, Marissa, I'll start with you. We had the opportunity to be at Camp Courage last year, an amazing event up in Prescott. So many kids, so many wonderful stories. You laugh, you cry. And because of the current COVID pandemic and social distancing, you had to change and move this to a virtual experience. So tell me about what that has been like and maybe some of the silver linings that have come out of that.
Yeah, so it's definitely been a journey for us to move that program virtual, but it actually has had a lot of really great benefits. One of those being the fact that we've been able to get a little bit more creative with our programming and how we deliver programming and how we think about delivering programming. We've been able to reach kids in other parts of the state that might not have been able to get to Camp Courage, or outside of Arizona that might not have been able to get to Camp Courage. We've been able to add new elements and new variables that we wouldn't have maybe thought of if we didn't have to go virtual. So it's been kind of a little bit stressful at times, but it's been really great to just be able to connect with these kids and provide a bright spot in their lives amongst a little bit of chaos, and give them and their families a little bit of Camp Courage. So.
Yeah, and Lori, I'll bring you into the conversation. You know, you've been a part of these virtual sessions, and one of the silver linings that Marissa was telling me about was sometimes these smaller groups can sometimes make kids feel more confident. You've seen some major breakthroughs.
Yeah, definitely a heightened sense of connectedness and intimacy and support with regards to that. We really have been able to include individuals that maybe haven't been or felt as included prior to, whether it be because of distance or other reasons why. But these virtual type of connections allow many different ways to kind of communicate, chat, some opportunities for a little bit more individualized time, depending on the size of the session. So just really utilizing our resources and thinking more outside of the box and how we can continue to support our individuals, our survivors throughout this pandemic and distancing and beyond.
Yeah, do you have, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, are there any specific examples of things you've seen maybe over the last few weeks, few months where that has happened?
Oh, most definitely. We actually had an expressive arts group this past week, and it was a little bit smaller in number, which again, you know, allowed for a little bit more intimacy with the children that were attending. And we have one particular child who attended who's newer in terms of his injury occurred fairly recently and still has a good amount of surgeries and healing and procedures to go through. And this individual, this child, also has a tracheostomy and has really not talked publicly with anyone outside of his immediate family. And he's been on a few other virtual sessions, but this time and in this setting with the smaller numbers and with the topic that we were on with, we talked about superheroes and courage and utilizing those in these times. And he was able to speak for really the first time publicly, talking with other peers. He was not shying away from the camera. He was immediately facing the camera and speaking, as well as utilizing the chat functions and formats. And just to see his confidence and courage and resiliency was amazing. And just the whole topic of superheroes, additionally, it's like, this kid right here is a superhero. And we just have so many of them within our realms and within our walks. And it's amazing to be able to kind of see and showcase and help build and support them in this manner.
And that's such a wonderful story. And Marissa, you have a few too, right? Some things that have happened impromptu in these virtual sessions.
Yeah, one of the that we weren't expecting to happen during our opening ceremony was an impromptu pet show and tell. So the opening ceremony was kind of our first virtual experience of our camp week. And the kids were a little bit shy, a little bit hesitant. They haven't seen each other in a year, and add in the virtual element, and it's a little bit unknown. And all of a sudden, someone just said, "Hey, do you want to see my dog?" And of course, me being a dog lover and most other people being pet lovers was all for it. And kids then were going throughout their house to find their pets or typing in the chat, "This is my dog," or "This is my cat," "This is my bird, my turtle." So it kind of really broke the ice in such an unexpected way that we couldn't have planned for. And it really set off a really good uplifting tone for the kids to be able to just share and get a little bit of normalcy. But also, if they weren't super comfortable talking, they could hide behind a furry pet, and who doesn't love that? So
Yeah, and you mentioned, some of them aren't comfortable talking, and then there are other opportunities. And Lori, I'll ask you about art therapy. Tell me how you guys are using that right now.
So we host a monthly expressive arts group. That's something we've started doing. I'm trained to provide expressive arts just in a format to help people process through healing, feelings, trauma. So in doing that virtually, we've been able to provide art activities to help kids and adults as applicable process through what's going on right now, just in a fun manner, utilizing tools and things from home, whether it be pencils, paper, colored pencils, paints, and engaging them in activities that allow them to release stressors, feelings, emotions, connect with each other, and have fun. And they can do so without speaking a word, just kind of following and seeing as far as what's done on the screen. They can utilize the chat session function. They can chat and interact with each other. There is a little bit of share and tell as well, as Marissa mentioned, but just a great format to, again, kind of alleviate all of the different stressors that may be going on right now, and just a creative format and function.
Okay, so you guys are working with art therapy, and Marissa, I want to ask you about how music therapy is currently being used.
yeah, so like we are doing the expressive arts once a month, we're also doing music therapy virtually once a month. We did our first session during our virtual camp week, but have decided to continue offering it once a month because it's such an invaluable resource that we can offer to not just our kids, but our adult burn survivors as well. It just allows them another outlet. Maybe they love music or they're not super comfortable with music, but it's just an easy way. And being virtual, they don't have to participate or feel pressure to participate to the same level that maybe they would if it was in person. They can choose to just mouth the words. They can choose to just kind of play quieter. But it gives them time to just use music to work through some things that they're feeling. Maybe they aren't comfortable talking about it, but they can just kind of play through it. And something that we've used in our family camp before, and we now are excited to be offering it. And again, it's just another way that we've had to get creative with our programming that's worked out really well.
And Marissa, I'm glad you brought it up because you did say that, now going beyond camp, you're able to keep the community engaged. And Lori, I want to ask you about that because you've been working with burn survivors and helping this community for so long, 15 years now, and you've seen a lot. And here we go in this current time of the pandemic, of social distancing, and the Burn Foundation is still delivering those moments, the moments that you just talked about, the moments that Marissa just talked about. So how does that make you feel when you're still able to do that during this time?
I think that's why we all really got into this line of work, was to touch another person, their life, their story, and allow them to touch and connect with each other. And during this time of distancing and that inability to physically touch each other, through virtual communications, through phone calls, through text, through chat, we've figured out ways to, again, establish and keep those connections ongoing and moving forward, and allowing individuals to continue to heal, to continue to grow, to continue to foster those relationships. And it's empowering, I think, for us to see that happen, but how much more fulfilling and encouraging is it for us to see basically another burn survivor connect with another burn survivor, a family with a family, and just see those relationships and that healing grow.
Yeah, and Marissa, I'm going to ask you the same question. You know, what's that like for you when you get off one of those virtual sessions and you met, whether it's an impromptu show and tell, or it's, you know, a kid speaking up for the first time, when you hit end on that, you know, on that Zoom call, what are your emotions like?
It just really kind of brings it back home of why we're here and why we put in the work that we do. And even when we aren't sure of what the outcome might be, at the end of the day, if 2 kids, if 1 kid, if 10 kid, if 2 kids get something out of it, that's a huge success. And it reminds us why we do what we do, and it fills our cup back up. And keeps us moving forward because we see those bright moments and we see those connections made, and there's no feeling like it.
Well, Marissa and Lori and your entire team, thank you for everything that you're doing. Again, this will be a continuing series, and I do want to mention the new website is up, azburn.org. That's where people can learn how to get involved, and right now, especially to donate. There are easy ways to do that. And again, we will work in ways to keep you informed of what the Burn Foundation is doing to continue that mission. We're going to have new episodes, hopefully every other week. And again, keeping that community engaged. And right now, if you're watching this, I know a lot of you already know about the Burn Foundation, but there are so many people out there who are just learning about that mission. And so doing the best that we can to share this type of information. So please, when you see this out on social media or you have the link, share it with your community. Lori and Marissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you next time.